going to give you some just fun financial facts that have come to light over the last year. These are excerpted from the Idea Farm newsletter run by Meb Faber, who's a friend of Ryan and mine, who used to hang around with us at the National Association of Active Investment Managers for many years. And back then, Meb was considered one of the smartest guys in the room, in a room full of really smart guys. So this is fun. I'm going to go through these quickly. If you want more information on any of these, just hang on until my newsletter comes out on December 27th. That's going to have actual links to more information on each of these topics for you. Let's kick this off. The first fun fact is that more than half of America's startup companies have valued at more than $1 billion have been started by immigrants. So now we know why we need to have a regulated immigration system to keep that flow of smart people coming. Over 10% of Fortune 500 company CEOs are Indian immigrants who studied here in the U.S. and thankfully stayed here. Almost 1 in 5 CEOs of companies in the S&P 500 index spent part of their careers at either General Electric or Procter & Gamble. So kudos to those companies for generating so much talent, or finding that much talent and sharing it with us. In the 1970s, 3/4 of companies paid a dividend, and it's about half of that now. And this is due to changes in the tax law that made dividend investing a little less favorable than growth investing. I don't know if that's going to change in the future, but stay tuned for that. The company Stanley Black & Decker has paid a dividend for 147 consecutive years. This is more than any other company in the New York Stock Exchange. That by itself, though, is probably not a good reason to go out and buy Black & Decker, because they dropped 62% of their value in the 21-22 period. So it can be very volatile as well. About a third of all S&P 500 trades are now executed in the final 10 minutes of trading. Thank goodness for all those computers to keep track of that stuff. Of the roughly 8,000 Chinese companies that are publicly traded, only about 600 have generated more than a 10% return over the last 5 years. Now, a leading China index exchange traded fund, ticker symbol FXI, if you want to look it up, is down over 16% for the last 5 years. This is ending December 6th. And I hear that home prices over there have fared even worse. So one of my mantras the last couple of years is go ahead and invest because of China, but just don't invest in China unless you really feel the need to. According to Lipper, the average turnover of a mutual fund is around 39%. This implies an investor's average holding period of 2.5 years. What this tells us is that more and more investors are getting smart and abandoning buy and hold investing for the more active strategies that we do here at Shadowridge. Japan's stock market hit a record high back in February after 34 years of struggling just to get back to even. That puts a whole new spin on buy and hold investing by itself. In 2023, McDonald's bought 2 billion eggs. This reminds me of back when I was a kid growing up, and the McDonald's signs used to brag about selling 2 million or selling 3 million hamburgers. Now they're counting eggs for their breakfast sandwiches in billions. 33 million of us carry a Starbucks card in our wallet. At the end of March of this last year, there was $1.9 billion worth of stored value on those cards. For Starbucks, this is like an interest-free loan of $1.9 billion. And they thank you, I'm sure. The research and development spending of Amazon is greater than the research and development spending of all corporations in France, plus the entire French government. And now you wonder why European stocks have trailed the U.S. stocks over the last few years. It's probably reasons like that. Apple's 2023 revenue was over $400 billion, making it about as big as the entire economy of Denmark or the economy of Philippines. That's a pretty big company. Walmart now does $100 billion a year in online sales. Their business plan is to sneak up on Amazon based on the fact that they've been outperforming Amazon for quite a while now. My guess is their business plan is working. Americans now believe that it takes $2.5 million to be considered wealthy, or maybe for the individual to consider themselves wealthy. I'm not sure exactly how that shakes out. Well, this is a fun one. For those of you who aren't familiar with the name Cornelius Vanderbilt, he was a shipping and railroad magnate in the early and mid 1800s. He founded Vanderbilt University in 1873. And in 1973, 120 of his descendants gathered at the university for the school centennial or for their first ever family reunion. Among that 120 descendants of Cornelius Vanderbilt, there was not a single millionaire. Now, I've heard that generational wealth dissipates after just a couple of generations. And boy, that's a good example of that. Here's a good one. There are now more $100 bills in circulation than $1 bills. Who'd have thunk that one? Americans spent $186 billion on pets last year. That's more than they spend on healthcare. There's a statement in there somewhere. Roughly 50% of college graduates have jobs that do not use their degrees. I bet you they have college loans, though, that aren't going away. In the past 25 years, the U.S. has built more commercial nuclear reactors, 2 of them, than major commercial airports. 0. Think about that. 0 new airports in this age of growing and growing air travel. It just doesn't make much sense. Ireland is the largest exporter of pharmaceuticals to the United States. They export twice as many pharmaceutical products from Ireland as from Canada, China, India, and Mexico combined. I wouldn't have guessed that on Jeopardy. That's a big number. This is another one that blew my mind. There are 17 American men in history who have run a marathon in less than 2 hours and 10 minutes. However, there are 32 Kenyans who did it in the single month of October 2011. 17 Americans in all of history versus 32 Kenyans in 1 month. I think I know who I'm betting on next time. During the Paris Olympics, nearly 400,000 guests stayed at Airbnb. That's the equivalent to the capacity of about 5 Olympic stadiums. And in 2023, less than 5% of companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange were more than 50 years old. 95% of them were founded in the last 50 years. That's a pretty good number. Only 15% of current jobs existed in 1940. That means more than 85% of total U.S. employment growth since 1940 has come entirely in new occupations. Oh, I love this one. The emissions that a modern tractor trailer puts out are 1/75th of what a tractor trailer put out in the 1980s. That means that semi emissions are down over 98% in the last 40 or 50 years. This is real environmental progress, and it's sort of exciting that we can do it without the government making it happen. Anguilla is a little island in the Caribbean, about 100 miles east of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Its government made more than 10% of its total revenue last year from companies registering web addresses that end in .ai, which is the Anguilla Internet Domain Registration. So whenever you see a company that has .ai at the end of it, you know they're giving a few dollars every year to the little island nation of Anguilla.